All right, thank you so much for joining us for another HRAI webinar. Today we have the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum information session with Stephanie Shrum, Project Manager with the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, CAF. This is going to be a fantastic presentation, and if you don't catch it now and you're watching, you want to watch later, it'll be on the HRAI YouTube page. We are taking questions as well. You can put those in the bottom of your screen at the Q&A button or in chat, and Stephanie will get to them when her presentation's through. But at this point, I would like to introduce herself.
Hi, thank you so much, Matthew. I'm just trying to start my camera here. There we go.
Hey, there she is.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm Stephanie from the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum. If you haven't heard of us before, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about what it is that we do, and then I'm going to tell you about the Canadian Apprenticeship Service Grant, which I'm sure is what you're all here for. So what we do at the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum is we are a not-for-profit organization. We create an environment for stakeholders associated with apprenticeship and with the skilled trades to have an opportunity to communicate with each other, to work on projects together, just to have an opportunity to kind of move the bar in terms of apprenticeship, in terms of skilled trades. It allows us to all have conversations about where some of the gaps might be and what some solutions might be. We also do a lot of research, and we provide a number of different reports on things like LMI, on best practices, on equity, diversity, and inclusion. We also do a lot of work as well in just sort of forwarding agendas with, say, the federal government in terms of what we might need in apprenticeship or how we might want to address some gaps. So we do a lot of advocacy that way as well. And we're always looking for new members. So if that sounds like something that's of interest to you, of course, reach out to us and we'd love to have you. What I'll talk about today, though, is something that's brand new to the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum in terms of what we generally provide. And this is a Canadian Apprenticeship Service Grant. So it's a service to employers in the form of providing incentives. And that's something that's sort of a new opportunity for CAF, and we're very excited about it. So this program was made available through Employment and Social Development Canada, or ESDC is probably how you've heard them framed before. And this program started back in June of 2022. We are one of 19 service providers across Canada who have this funding. So I'm going to tell you about our program today, but know that there are 18 more across the country. We'd love for you to use ours, but if you find one that's maybe a little bit closer to you, or that you feel that it just speaks to you a little bit more, that's fine too. We would just love for you to have the resources and supports that you need as you're hiring new apprentices. So this program will go until March 31st of 2024. So we're in our second fiscal year right now. There's about just under a year left. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about who we're working with. So the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum decided to work with some partners who were already experts, who already had services in place, and who are just fantastic at what they do. So we decided, let's not reinvent things that are already out there and are already amazing. So we've partnered with the Aboriginal Apprenticeship Board, the Canadian Construction Association, BuildForce Canada, Skill Plan, and ApprenticeSearch.com. And they all do a number of different things. Excuse me, the Aboriginal Apprenticeship Board helps us to get connected to Indigenous communities so that employers, future apprentices, training organizations are aware of the support that's available to them. The Canadian Construction Association is doing all of our marketing and is ensuring that that folks in construction, who represent sort of the largest amount of trades in this program, are familiar with the funding that's out there and know to take advantage of it and how to take advantage of it. BuildForce Canada and Skill Plan are doing the training components that are associated with our program. So we have a number of courses that are complementary through our program that we have identified as areas where employers have said, hey, I'd love to know more about this, or I'd love to incorporate more of this into my business. And so we've made some of that training available. I'll tell you about it in just a few slides, and we'll kind of go through what's available with our program. And then ApprenticeSearch.com is our partner that is doing all of the registration. So any of the kind of paperwork that we do at the beginning, and don't worry, there's not a lot of it. There's actually a fairly minimal amount of paperwork with this program, which is great. but they help with that beginning piece. And then any troubleshooting that an employer might need, they also have the matching platform that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So they're able to get employers and apprentices connected with each other, and that's an existing service that they had. So we're very excited to have these 5 partners, and they've been amazing to work with. You may be wondering, if all of these partners are doing all the work, what on earth are you doing, Kath? Our role is to meet with ESDC to make sure that we're following all of the rules related to the program, to make sure that we understand what they need in order to ensure that the program is a success. We also do a lot of the advertising like today. So the webinars, we do breakfasts. I go all over Canada to meet with folks and to just make sure that people know that, that this is out there. And I'm also responsible for getting the money to you. So we are the folks that release the funding at the end. So I do all of these kind of reviewing applications and making sure that employers are getting the funds at the end. Okay, so that's who we're working with. So I'm going to refer to us as CAF and partners moving forward because it's a little bit easier than saying all 6 of our names. So the way that the program works is if your company has less than 500 paid employees, so 499 paid employees or less, you could even have 1 employee, and that's fine. It just has to be under 500. You receive $5,000 to hire a new apprentice, so a first-year apprentice in one of the 39 eligible trades, and we're going to go over that in just a second. If you hire a person who's from an equity priority group, and we'll go over that too, you receive $10,000. And that's the money is just to help offset some of the initial costs that are associated with hiring a new person. So we know that, you know, you've got to give them your mentor time. There's some training time. They might need safety equipment. They're going to go to their block education, and there's some pieces along with that you know, require money. So this is just to help offset some of those initial costs to make hiring a year 1 apprentice just a little bit easier for everybody. Because of course, what we'd like to do is continue to kind of fill that gap, you know, the shortage in the labor market. And this is part of how we're trying to build that pipeline of apprentices coming into the skilled trades. So there's a maximum of 2 new level 1 hires per year. So since we're in our 2nd fiscal year, you have 2 apprentices left within the scope of the program, or up to $20,000 if both folks are from an equity priority group. So the equity priority groups are women, Indigenous peoples, newcomers, persons with disabilities, visible minorities, and folks in the LGBTQ2+ community. If you wanted definitions on how ESDC is defining each of those groups, those definitions are available. But ultimately, it's just a voluntary self-disclosure on behalf of the participant or the apprentice. So what we'll do is we'll have them register as well on our website, and that's where they indicate if they would, if they identify as belonging to one of those groups. We're not asking for proof of belonging to any of the groups, so we're not asking for status in Canada. We're not asking for, say, a doctor's note to indicate a disability of any kind. It's just a voluntary self-disclosure. Okay, I'm not going to read you all of these construction trades. After this webinar, you will be getting sent a package of information that will include the list of trades. But I am just going to point out that landscape horticulturalist is on there. Not everyone innately thinks of landscape horticulturalist as under the umbrella of construction. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that that's in there too. And then the other thing I just want to point out with manufacturing is that cabinet maker can also, and industrial mechanic, I think is the other one, can also be under the construction umbrella. So if you're hiring a cabinet maker in, say, you know, commercial, residential, industrial construction, that does count as well. So it really just has to be the name of the trade is what we're looking for, and it needs to be a red seal trade. So you will again get these list of trades afterwards so that you can see if your trade is on there. And you are, there is the refrigeration mechanic is on, refrigeration and AC mechanic is on there. So I will continue on. It is just the manufacturing and construction included in this grant, and the landscape horticulturalist. So those are the industries that ESDC has chosen to focus on for this particular funding. So as I mentioned, we are one of 19 service providers across Canada. CAF is able to work with any of the trades, any of the provinces, any of the territories. It doesn't matter to us if your organization is part of a union or not part of a union. We have no kind of parameters that way, so we can work with anyone. All of the service providers have the same regulations around the program ends March 31st, 2024. It's 5,000 or 10,000. The trades are still the same. It's still the same that you need to have kind of 499 paid employees or less. So all of that's identical across the board. But I will tell you what's just a little bit different about our program, and each of the service providers are going to have our own sort of unique and special offerings. So, make sure that you're kind of looking around to see what works best for you, but I will tell you what we have that's just a little unique and different. So ApprenticeSearch.com has a matching service. So if you do need an apprentice and you don't really have any candidates right now, firstly, I would encourage you to look for your employment service center in your area, because most provinces and regions will have free government funded employment services. So I encourage you to connect with them. But additionally, you can use our matching service. And it is online. It's organized by region and trade, and it's across Canada. And we do have job developers that work on the back end as well. So it's not just an algorithm that pairs you with an apprentice, but we have real humans on the back end trying to make sure that it is a good fit, and they can ask some good questions to make sure that the candidates that you're getting paired up with are what your organization is looking for. So that's one of our interesting and unique services that we provide that's just a little bit different, or additional to, I guess I should say, the grant itself. I'm going to skip past the mentorship course for a second. I'm just going to go to our other complementary training. So for the employers, we have three, for you and maybe existing employees, if you think this would be applicable to them, we've got working in a respectful workplace, understanding systemic racism, and construction ethics. And these are just extra pieces that can help if you're looking to diversify your workplace, if you're looking to incorporate a little bit more of the equity, diversity, and inclusion pieces, especially if they relate to the Equity Employment Act. These are just some additional pieces that can kind of help move that bar forward a little bit, and can help folks to just know, how do I make a more inclusive environment? What does that look like? How do I welcome folks that are maybe a little different than the folks that have worked for me for a really long time? So that's what those programs are for. And we do register, we send you a pin for them as soon as you register for the grant. You can use it or not use it. It's totally up to you, but you will get that pin right away. And then you're welcome to use the training anytime up until the program ends on March 31st of 2024. So lots of time if you want to use that program as part of your regular onboarding. We also have complementary essential skills training for apprentices. And this is called Build Your Skills. It's through Skill Plan. It's a self-directed online program where apprentices who may be struggling in the 9 essential skills can have just a little bit of extra assistance to just increase their skills a little bit in that area, increase their confidence, increase their comfort. Especially math seems to be the one that we see the most in terms of measurements and ratios and converting metric to imperial and those sorts of things. So this program does incorporate some of that training for the apprentice so that they can work to just upskill a little bit as they go through. If they're finding that there are areas where they're not particularly comfortable or confident, this allows them to bridge that gap a little bit. And then lastly, we have a mentorship course that's available for the apprentice that you're hiring, as well as the mentor that you're assigning to them. It could be a journey person, it could not, but whoever you're assigning as your mentor to your apprentice, we're going to send them a pin. So we'll send both of them a pin for this training, and they'll have access to the mentorship course. We do ask that they complete it at some point before the program ends. It's about 3 hours in length if you do it online. We also now have a virtual instructor-led session that's 3 hours. So if there are folks that don't really prefer self-directed and they'd rather have a facilitator, we've included that option as well. So lots of different opportunity to do this training. The reason we think it's important is that sometimes folks can be really, really good at using tools, but that doesn't mean they're as good at transferring knowledge to the apprentice or to another person. And so the mentorship course has identified 6 competencies that allows for mentors to transfer knowledge in a way that's helpful and that lands well. It also helps for providing feedback. If maybe the mentor is kind of having an apprentice for the first time and hasn't really had to provide feedback before, it walks them through how to do that in a way that's really going to be helpful to the apprentice. And then on the flip side, the apprentice learns how to ask good questions, how to get the most out of their training, how to receive feedback in a way that's going to be helpful for relationship building. And then once that training is done, they have access to a mentorship app as well. So the app allows for the apprentice and the mentor to communicate. It also has all of the competencies for the trades that are included in this program built in. So the apprentice can kind of check off as they go through the competencies. And at the end, they can print the log. So as they're filling out their logbook, they'll actually have all of the competencies they've completed to really easily kind of check that off in their logbook. Additionally, they can also connect with other mentors. So if you have within your trade, maybe not a lot of variety within the scope of that trade, your apprentice could connect to other mentors that might do different pieces or might just have kind of other responsibilities within that trade that they could share with the apprentice so that their breadth of knowledge is just a little bit larger. So the other thing too, actually, that I really like about the app is it allows for folks to get feedback electronically, which for some people, if it's their first time in the workplace and they're used to communicating electronically and they're intimidated by receiving feedback in person, this provides for another opportunity to maybe ask questions or ask for feedback in a way that can be a touch less intimidating. So for me, I think the app is really, really helpful, and I'm excited to have it as part of our program. And again, this is all complimentary. All the pins get sent right away as soon as you're registered. So you've got access to it as soon as you get registered with apprenticesearch.com and get some of that initial paperwork done. So that's what's extra about us. Let's say you're thinking, yeah, I'm about to hire an apprentice. I would love to have some money to help me with that. And I'm very interested in getting started. What do I do? The first thing you're going to do is go to apprenticesearch.com/CAS and you're going to register. There's just a little profile that you fill out. It's not particularly comprehensive, actually. It's fairly short. So you're going to fill out that profile, and then a job developer is going to reach out to you for the next pieces. They're going to reach out to you to fill out what we're calling a sub-agreement. It's really just an agreement that says, you know, I'll follow the rules of the program. I'm only going to work with one service provider at a time. That part's kind of a big deal. So ESDC has asked for employers to only work with one of us service providers at a time. The reason is that you can only have 2 apprentices within this program per fiscal year. So you can't come to us and have 2 and then go to CBTU and get 2 and then go to CLAC and get 2. You need to kind of pick one of us. So that's a part of the sub-agreement. So they'll ask you to fill that out. They're also going to ask you for an electronic funds transfer document, because that's how we pay you. We pay through direct deposit. And then once you've done those 2 pieces with us, they're then going to ask you to register your apprentice with your jurisdictional authority and then send us that training agreement. So the most important thing, if you don't remember anything else from this webinar, the important thing is register with us before you register your apprentice with your jurisdictional authority. So here in Ontario, it's the Ministry of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. But it's got, you know, a different name in each of the provinces and territories, but they're the folks that do the registration for apprenticeship. So the reason that you need to register with us first before you register your apprentice is that it's a move forward program. It's a hiring incentive. It's not a retroactive program where you've already hired the apprentice and now you get funds for that. So we do need to make sure that we're just kind of following the protocol of you registering with us, and then you get the incentive to do the hire. Okay, so once you've registered with us and then you register your apprentice and you get your training agreement, we're going to have your apprentice register with us as well. Again, that's just so that they can identify if they belong to an equity priority group or not. And that's what tells us whether or not you receive $5,000 or $10,000. So their registration is pretty quick. And then after that, we're going to send your journey person or your mentor and your apprentice their PIN for the mentorship course. Again, they can just do that anytime before the program ends. And once I get your paperwork from the job developers, I'm going to look it over, make sure we have everything, and then I'll give you the funds. Once I get your paperwork, it takes me about 10 to 14 days to get the funds out. So for a program of this size, that's actually fairly quick. So I'm pretty happy with how quick we can kind of get through the process. But really, just to let you know, sometimes the slower parts are waiting for your training agreement, depending on how fast your jurisdictional authority is able to go through it. That's probably the slowest part, really. As long as you're able to fill out the sub agreement and get us the EFT fairly quick, then the rest of it's a pretty fast process. You're going to also receive an FAQ document after this, and it's going to go through some of the questions that I see that are most frequently asked. You're also welcome to, when I stop talking, ask all kinds of questions about the program. I'm here for a while, so you've got lots of time to ask any questions that you might have, but you will get that document as well that just kind of has the frequent questions that we've been asked as we've been going through the program, so that you've got that to refer to. We do have a troubleshooting number. So if you're running into any difficulties and you just need a job developer to help you out, we've got a phone number there for you. It is in French and English. So this whole entire program is available in both of our official languages. And our website is available in both languages as well. So this is the English version, but we do have French too. And just one more time, these are the partners that we're working with. And again, it's funded through the Government of Canada or Employment and Social Development Canada. That's it for the presentation. So I'm just going to stop sharing now. And then Matthew, I don't know if there are any questions or if you have any questions you'd like to ask.
I've actually got a few questions for you, so I'm glad you made time. So we got some for you. We're going to put you through the test. But first of all, thank you so much. A lot of information in the presentation. And like you said, we'll be sending that information out to registrants. And also this video would be on HRAI's YouTube. But let's dive in. So, if an organization has more than 500 paid employees total, but has a division that has less than 500, would that division be eligible? What about a subsidiary of a larger conglomerate?
Yeah, great question. So subsidiaries or divisions that operate separately are eligible. So as long as they have a separate payroll, they're eligible. So that's where ESDC kind of tends to define it is, let's say that I'm a large conglomerate, but my subsidiaries house their payroll separately and operate as kind of a separate identity, then it's fine. But if your payroll is centralized, unfortunately, then it's not eligible anymore.
Thank you. On to the next one. If a company works with a union to get their apprentices and the apprentices are indentured to the union, how can the company still apply for the grant?
So the company would still be eligible. And again, the grant goes to wherever the payroll is. So if the employer is paying the apprentice, which generally in that situation they usually are, the grant would go to the employer. We just need to see that the apprentice has in fact been indentured in that trade, because we need to see what level they are, first of all. So we generally are looking to see if the union would provide a training agreement, or sometimes they have a sponsor document that they'll send to employers, where employers just kind of get who the person is, what trade they're in, what level they're in. So we would look for that sponsor document, but ultimately we just need a document of some kind. Even their apprenticeship card would actually be okay, along with we would need to, in that case, then we generally look for a pay stub just to show that that employer has hired that apprentice.
Thank you. Comprehensive. I guess a general question would be, how long does this whole process take?
It really, so the slow point can sometimes be depending on your jurisdictional authority and how fast they go. Right. But I have had employers that were able to register with us, register their apprentice, and then get the funding within a month. We actually had one do it in 3 weeks. So, it can be super fast. It really just depends on how fast you are at getting documents back to us, and again, how fast your jurisdictional authority is at processing training agreements. And some of the provinces are faster than others.
So it really is both sides, just kind of getting the paper, moving the process along on both sides for sure. Excellent. Got another one here for you. If an employer hires an apprentice and the apprentice leaves the organization, what happens then? Is that okay?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
okay. So this program's interesting in that it doesn't have a retention piece built in, which sometimes we see with funding programs, but this one doesn't have that. So of course, we would love for the apprentice to stay with you, and that is the intention, and that's what we want to see. But we know that sometimes relationships don't go the way we want, or sometimes people think they're going to like a trade and don't. So that's okay. We don't claw that funding back.
Okay, so there's no penalties, nothing wrong in that situation, right? Another one for you. Who does the mentor have to be for the introduction to mentorship training? Does it need to be a Red Seal journey person?
No, so the mentor is whoever you assign to be. I mean, generally for most of the trades, it probably is going to be a journey person, but some of the trades don't have that requirement. And so it's whoever you determine is going to be. I would recommend the person that's going to do the bulk of the onboarding for the apprentice and who's going to spend the most time with them at the beginning, because the mentorship training really is a lot about how to transfer knowledge. So I would say choose the person that's going to work with your apprentice the most. That's what I would recommend. But ultimately, it's fully up to you to determine who your mentor is going to be.
Perfect. You passed the test. No, it's a lot of good stuff. And if you got any more questions, please put them in the Q&A or chat before this is done. But we will be sending that information out. This will be available after the fact. And if you want to actually, can you put up your contact information again? Is that possible? Just if people want to reach out?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry to put you on the spot there. But
no, I'm just trying to think of how to get back to it the faster.
No worries.
I'll show you the website and the phone number.
Sure. Perfect.
And then if you would like, Matthew, maybe what we can do is if you just want to share my signature when you send the email forward with the other information package,
Absolutely.
and then you can reach out to me directly. But so you've got a couple of options for reaching out. You can reach out to the phone number, you can reach out and register on the website, and those will both get you to the job developers who speak in both official languages. Or you're welcome to reach out to me directly as well. I don't do the registration, but I can help you with if you've got any questions about eligibility and those sorts of things. I'm happy to help with that stuff. So this is the phone number or the website.
Awesome.
And it's all over the material that you're going to get as well. So we've put those things in as many places as we can to help you get registered.
Sounds good. Well, speaking of which, I think we all got to get back to work. So thank you very much for the fantastic information on a very important program, especially when the main topic right now is getting new generations of people into the workforce. So this is one program that's going to do it. Awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And thank you everyone for joining us. I do hope that you take advantage of the program if you are in a hiring position, because we want you to have that support. We want you to have those resources. So please make sure that you check it out. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.